tucked up in behind my shirt, so go for it.
Well, hello everyone in the audience. You have no idea how happy I am to see you after all these months. We've been doing this and it's been a transition. So I'm excited that you're here. My name is Amy Hamilton. Hi everybody, virtual. So for those of you who have not been to any of our popcorn series before, I am a coordinator in our business industry services division at Tulsa Tech. And I am our coordinator here at 36 Degrees North. My primary focus is in supporting training, workforce development training for companies in the Tulsa area. And 36 Degrees North is a nonprofit, and my focus is working with nonprofits. So that's why I get the pleasure of being here. And we've been doing this for over 2 years, almost 2.5 years. We've been doing these pop-up fun type things. I'm excited that we have a full house today in the audience, and we have quite a few people on virtual, so thank you for coming. You're very popular, apparently. And I'm grateful and thankful to 36 Degrees North for creating this opportunity. I'm also super grateful for my partner and collaborator, Jessica Kinsey, who introduced us back there. She and I have been working on this project for many years, and she's going to be navigating the virtual piece, and I'm going to try and navigate in here. And so thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Jessica, and then we'll turn it over to you, Bree. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everyone, for being here, both virtually and in the room. I apologize for introducing myself from behind your backs. For those of you that are here, we'll maybe rethink that a little bit in the future. But my name is Jessica Kinsey. I'm the founder of Prodigy & Company. It's a consulting and training firm. I work mostly in the nonprofit space as well, helping organizations increase their income so they can increase their impact. And then I do a lot of professional development and training and facilitation, including this partnership with Tulsa Tech, which is very exciting and a lot of fun. And one of the things I really enjoy is getting to meet new people and bring in experts who know things that I don't know. And SEO is something that I don't know anything about. So we definitely needed someone who has some expertise. So I got connected to Bree through someone else at 36. She's a part of the Tulsa Remote program. And she is Google's top ranked entrepreneur coach, which is super cool. So if you Google her, she pops up at the very top of the list. I've done it. It actually works. So she has a lot to teach us about SEO and helping us move up in the ranking. So with that, Bree, I'm going to turn it over to you. Sorry, 1 second comment to the folks who are on Zoom. If you have questions at any point, feel free to put them in the chat as always. If you would like to verbally ask a question, please raise your hand using the hand raise in Zoom, because we need to do a little bit of muting and unmuting in the room because of like some feedback and stuff. So we have the ability to do that. We just need to manage it a little bit. So that's kind of how that will work from a Q&A perspective for those of you that are virtual. I think that's it. So over to you, Bree.
Awesome.
Let me stop my screen share for 1 second so you can screen share.
All right. Jess's face is going to pop up for a hot second, so enjoy it. And then, all right. Oops. Okay, cool. We good? Everyone, you're good, Jess? Good? Okay, cool. So as Jessica said, I am Google's top-ranked entrepreneur coach. So if you happen to have some sort of screen in front of you, pull it up, pull up Google, and type in entrepreneur coach. And then you'll want to scroll down past the advertising, because I don't pay to be the top-ranked search result. It's completely organic. And then you can go ahead and click on it. And basically what I'm going to teach you guys today is how I got to be in that top position. And also, you all just helped me continue to strengthen my position as Google's top-ranked entrepreneur coach. So thank you for that. You guys can all close my website. You don't need to be on my website. Okay, so before we really get started, who am I? I am new to Tulsa. I have been here for 8 months. Just decided to stay an extra year, so you guys have me a little bit longer. I have been in entrepreneurship and in coaching or counseling for 14 years. My strategy and methodology for helping people grow their businesses is both inner alignment and outer strategy. If you aren't aligned on the inside, but you have a great strategy, it's never going to work. If you have a terrible strategy, but you're aligned AF, it's never going to work. You have to have both the inner and the outer in order to make your business work in the world. I've been on over 50 press outlets, hundreds of podcasts, which we will get into as to why that's important for your SEO later. And I'm also a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. So I have had my coaching and consulting business for 6 years officially last month. And before that, I ran my own fashion label for 8 years. So this is just one example of something I did for a client. She is a harpist in New York City, and we SEO'd her website. She, a month later, got hired by Macy's for a corporate gig playing at one of their events. I just found this morning. One of my former clients is a child-free coach. She is the #1 search result on Google for child-free coaching. And then this is something I actually did with a realtor here in Tulsa. Just did an entire SEO strategy for her. She went from having basically 0 listings on search to now having over 200 listings a month and continuing to go up. This is brand new. So one thing that you will learn is SEO is not an overnight strategy, and it is not a silver bullet strategy. So the thing about SEO is that it needs to be part of a more holistic strategy for your business. You can't just SEO your website and expect all of these customers and leads to come in. It's a piece of the puzzle and not everything. And then, like I said, so getting 200 search listings in a month is actually very good. It might seem like a small number, but for a month's worth of ranking on Google, it's actually very good. So I started doing SEO on my website back when I was a fashion designer. I started doing it, I think it was in 2013 or 2014. And so part of the reason that my website rose to the rankings so quickly 2 years ago was because I had been doing SEO stuff on my website. Even though it was for a different business, it was for the same domain. So why is SEO important? Currently, only 17% of business owners are utilizing it. So there is a lot of real estate available. There's a formula. Social media doesn't have a formula. We are at the mercy of the algorithm. SEO has a very specific formula. If you follow it, it works. And then it provides increased organic traffic to your website. As of right now, I think about 95% of my incoming leads are organic from Google, because I rank, actually, Entrepreneur Coach is just one of 177 words that I rank for. All right, so what you're about to learn. Straight up, I have been told that this training is like hooking people up to a fire hydrant. There's a lot of information in here. It is very dense. It's kind of boring. I'm going to do my best to make it fun, but there's a lot of information here. So if you don't get it all down, pick bits and pieces and chunks of it and do what you can, and then keep moving forward. This is, again, not an overnight thing. So I'm going to talk to you about the ingredients for effective SEO, what to do to optimize SEO on your overall website, how to develop and execute an SEO strategy for every single page of your website, how to optimize your website on the World Wide Web, not just on your site, and then continued strategies moving forward. So again, like I mentioned, this is kind of like hooking people up to a fire hydrant, one step at a time. Does anyone know how you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Very applicable with SEO. I do not recommend that you do all of this in like a week or even a month. Baby steps, one bite at a time. So what contributes to an SEO ranking? So the first thing is your domain authority. Google prioritizes the importance of your domain on a scale from 1 to 100. If you have a brand new website, it is very likely that your domain authority is somewhere around 1. If you are, say, Facebook or LinkedIn, your domain authority is going to be somewhere around 100. After doing SEO on my website since, what did I say, 2014, what is that, 8 years? My domain authority right now is a 38. And that's all from my actions. I've never hired anyone to do SEO on my website. Backlinks. So if your website is just your website and no one else on the internet is talking about your website, Google's not going to think that it's very important. So backlinks are when someone else's website directs and points to your website, right? So say, for example, you're featured on 50 different press outlets, and those 50 different websites point to your website. It starts letting Google know that your website is a little more important than other websites. The other thing we're going to talk about is creating closed circuit links. Does everyone remember in physics class back in high school where you had a little switch and you had a light bulb and you had to create a closed circuit in order to flip that switch and the light bulb to turn on? That's kind of the metaphor that I like to use for SEO. If you just have a wire going from the switch to the light bulb, it's not going to turn on. When you also put a wire from the light bulb to the switch, that's when you're able to turn the light on. So when you get backlinks from another website, you want to make sure on your site that you're also linking back to them and that there's like an exchange going on, because that will let Google know that your website is actually legit and even more important than just someone else pointing to your website. Consistent long-form content. Websites are not meant to be static. If you just put your website up and SEO it and never touch it again, Google's going to think it's a dead website. Websites are meant to evolve. They're meant to have new content put up on them. They're meant to continue to grow as your business grows. So you want to make sure you have a long-term strategy, and then also site and page optimization, which we are going to go over. All right, so first things first, what are you ranking for? So you need to start identifying what keywords you want to be ranking for, and then that's how you optimize your site and your pages. And essentially what it does is it lets Google know exactly what your website is about, right? So there's a few different strategies to this. One is you position yourself, like I did, as like what you do, right? Entrepreneur coach. The one I showed you earlier was like Tulsa realtor, child-free coach, New York City harpist, right? Like that's one aspect. Depending on what your business is, your customer or client might not know that you're the solution to the problem that they have. So the other way to find your keywords is you have to identify what that problem is that your customer has, and you almost have to put yourself into their mind. And my favorite way to illustrate this is if your customer is in bed and they can't sleep. We've all had those nights, right? Where we're at like 3 a.m. and our minds are just racing with all the problems that we're facing. They pick up their cell phone. What are they Googling, right? So say, for example, you're like a meditation person or a yoga person. The person that needs meditation and yoga in their life does not yet know that they need meditation and yoga in their life because they're focused on how stressed out they are and how much they hate their job, right? So if that's your clientele and customer, you don't want to be SEOing towards yoga and meditation because the person that needs you isn't Googling that. They're Googling, how do I get back to sleep at 3 a.m.? They're Googling, how do I diminish my stress in my life, right? So there's two different ways, and the only way to know that is that you have to be so intimately involved in the psychographics of your customer that you know exactly what they're thinking at all times, what their biggest problem is, what they're searching for, and then you get to position yourself as the answer to that solution. Cool? All right, so let's talk about finding keywords. Oh, interesting, I have all this in here. Okay, keyword planners. So 3 different tools that I use. Ubersuggest, and that may actually be the wrong URL. I was just on it this morning. It may also be neilpatel.com/Ubersuggest, but if you just Google Ubersuggest, it'll come up. So Ubersuggest, ads.google.com, and SEMrush are 3 of the better free versions. With SEMrush, you only get 3 keyword searches a day. With Ubersuggest, 3 free keyword searches a day. With Google AdWords, you get unlimited searches. Google AdWords has the least amount of data for you to know which keywords you want to use. And the way that you determine which keywords are going to be best for you is that they have a high to medium search volume and a low competition level. So what that means is that there's a lot of people searching for it and there's not a lot of competition on the web. So in all 3 of those tools, it's going to tell you exactly how many people are searching for that specific key phrase every single month. And then it's going to tell you exactly what like the competition is. So Neil Patel on Ubersuggest ranks the organic forget exactly what he calls it, but the organic competition, he ranks it from 0 to 100. So if you can get something around like 44, 45 in that area or lower, that's going to be a low competition, and that's going to be ideal for you. But you also want to make sure that the search volume is there, because you could have a really dynamic, like fabulous keyword and have 0 searches a month for it, and then it doesn't matter what the competition is, okay? And I'm going to walk you through this. I have an actual demonstration video once I get into the optimization where you're going to see me do all of this in real time. The other thing that's very important is that you have to have different key phrases for every single page on your site. Why is this? If every page on your site is SEO'd for the same key phrase, you're competing with yourself. And then also that's how, like, I've gotten to, I'm ranking for 177 keywords right now. And I don't have 177 pages on my website, but because I use different key phrases, then the combinations of those, Google also starts to be like, oh, this website is about da-da-da-da-da. So, and I can show you guys later if you want. I've laid mine out in an entire spreadsheet where I have like, what page on my website is it? What is the URL for that website? What key phrase am I using for that website? What is it SEO'd properly? And I'll show you guys again a little later with that as well. So the first thing that you have to sit down and do before you do any SEO whatsoever is you have to figure out what you want to be ranking for. You have to map out the keywords for every single page and every single blog entry on your website. And then and only then can you start doing some of the optimization stuff. Cool? All right. I'm breaking out our questions. There's like so much information in this that I want to break out our questions into each section. So does anyone have any questions about anything that I have talked about thus far? Yes.
Can you give some examples from your own website of the kind of search words you've used for like one page versus another?
Yes, I can do that. Yes, so the question was, can I share some examples of the key phrases I've used for my website? So this is my SEO tracker that I keep. I have a separate one for blogs. These are all my blogs. But my primary site, these are my pages. So my blog, my about page, my home page isn't SEO'd. Events, press, products, services, et cetera, et cetera. And so you can see that for almost every single one of them, the word entrepreneur is in there no matter what, except for this one. But everything else is like business coach, business this, entrepreneur success that, entrepreneur coach. My programs are all subdomained under entrepreneur coach. So these are the ones that I have had. And the coolest thing about those tools that I just gave you guys as well is that if you put in like entrepreneur coach, it's going to give you a bunch of alternate options as well. So say, for example, you put in entrepreneur coach and it has and it doesn't, but for the sake of example, it has a very bad amount of searches or a very bad competition. You can go through all the alternate ones that they're giving you and say, oh, maybe this one's better, or maybe that one's better. So you can get more than just one potential key phrase from one search. Does this help? Okay.
Bree, we had a question online asking if you were going to cover Wix websites, and I was just curious if this applies to everything or if it's different based on different websites.
So I do have something in here. So every platform that you use is a little bit different. WordPress, a little different from Squarespace, a little different from Wix. In terms of like, if you already have your website and you're on Wix and you're committed to being on Wix, great. What I will tell you is of the top 3, Wix is the worst. If you do not already have your website, if you are committed to building it yourself, Squarespace is going to be your best option. If you are not committed to building it yourself, WordPress is the best of the best of the best of the best. Okay? So every single one, the stuff I'm going to teach you applies to all 3 platforms. Each one is a little bit different, and if you go into the help section of Squarespace or Wix, it'll tell you exactly where to find all of the elements that I'm referencing in here.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
One more question. Is there a difference in value for keywords versus key phrases? Is there a risk of picking too many words for one page?
So the more words that you have, like the more specific and micro you get with your words, the harder it's going to be for you to like rank for those things, because people have to be searching for like those exact words, right? So for example, if you're searching, you know, realtor Oklahoma, right? Like it's just broader than if you're searching like realtor Central Tulsa Cherry Street, right? So you want the key phrases to be broad enough that they're hitting what you need, but not so micro that it's like cutting off everything else. Hopefully that helps. Yes?
Yeah, a second ago you said if you're not committed to building it yourself, WordPress is the best thing. I thought I have a WordPress website. What exactly do you mean by that? Like,
so WordPress is just, I built all my own websites up until 18 months ago when I switched to WordPress. WordPress is just a little more tricky. If you're not a professional web developer, I just don't recommend that people build websites on WordPress because you can mess it up big time. Like one click of a button, I did this. One click of a button, the entire website disappeared on WordPress. So, and like I had to, thank God, knew someone that like found it, but it took them 18 hours to find the website that I accidentally deleted with one click of a button. So if you're doing it yourself, I don't recommend you build it on WordPress. If you're doing it yourself, I highly recommend Squarespace. If you are willing to hire someone, please, please, please hire someone to do WordPress. Don't hire someone to do the other two. Does that make sense? Cool, I saw one more, yes.
Yeah, are these keywords strategies, are they applicable to YouTube SEO as well?
Yes, we will get to that.
Oh, awesome.
All right, so let's talk about on-site optimization. So this is going to be your overall website, all right? And then after this, we're going to get down into the page optimization, which is all of the micro pages on your website. So for on-site optimization, obviously, you want the title of your website to reflect what your key phrases are. For example, Jane Smith. You don't want your title to be Jane Smith because, well, one, if someone's trying to find you and they search Jane Smith, they're probably not going to find you anyways because that's a really common name. So you want to make sure that you're putting your key phrases in the title of your website so that Google knows, oh, this website is about San Antonio real estate. You also want to make sure that your key phrases are in the description of your website. Meet Jane Smith, one of the top real estate agents in San Antonio, Texas. Jane can help you with all your real estate needs in San Antonio. Cool? And then you also want to have your location and your phone number. If you don't want to put your specific address because you run an at-home based business, cool. You don't have to put your specific address. You can just put either the city or the city and the state, whatever. And then we'll touch back around later, because when you develop up your Google business listing, you're going to want to hyperlink that location and your phone number to your Google business listing, but you want it on your website somewhere. And then you're going to want to develop up, it's either like a press or a mentions page, and this is the place where you're going to put all of the backlinks that I talked about and the closed circuit links. So again, title and description. So the title of my website is not just my name. It is Bree Seeley. And then I have Entrepreneur Coach in there as well. Grow your business with the help of Entrepreneur Coach Bree Seeley, da-da-da-da-da. So this is where when you search for, like, when a website comes up on Google, this is what you see. So you want to make sure in your title and your description that you have your key phrases. This is also where I talked about having your phone number and your location. If you have multiple locations, put all the locations. All of these are hyperlinked to Google business listings and or Yelp listings. And we'll get into that again later. And then having a press or mentions page, again, literally just a place to like dump any and all links that link to you, or mention you, or have your website linked on them at all. Okay? So this is one of the easier parts. Your just on-site optimization for your web page, title, description, setting up a page for all your backlinks, having your location and your phone number. Any questions about this? This most straightforward and easiest one. Yes.
I ask it is the easiest one, but on location, I know you're fully remote, so am I. How do you go about doing that? Moving here to Tulsa, do you list Tulsa now as your location, or are you?
So because I'm a global business, like you saw, and I haven't done all of them yet, I'm working my way through developing up Google Places listings for every major city in America.
Okay.
Because what happens is Google prioritizes their own content. So if you search Business Coach Denver or even Realtor Tulsa, the first thing that pops up is the map of Tulsa with all the dots on it with all the realtors. So because Google prioritizes its own content, you want to have Google Places listing. So if you're, depending on what markets you want to hit, develop up Google Places listings for all of them. The only caveat to that, generally you need an address for Google to send a postcard to verify the business listing. So calling in favors to friends is very helpful during this experience. And you can also let them know that on Google, you can now hide the physical address as well. So like on all my Google business listings, one of them, the Minneapolis one, is my sister's address. Her address doesn't show up. So you can hide that, so it's private.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Other questions?
Any advice on backlinking, getting other people to link to your site?
We're getting there. Any other questions? Yes.
Does the backlinking need to have its own page, or you just want to include those links somewhere on your website?
Sorry, and I also just realized I'm not repeating the questions. The question was, does backlinking need its own site, or can you just put them sporadically? I prefer just to have one place, because like I just had 5 podcast drops and I realized I had like 4 Forbes articles I forgot to link to, and I'm monthly now on channel 6 here, and so like I had all these links, and instead of trying to like fit them into your website and make it look organic, just have one place to dump them all, and you can just copy paste and get it all done in one shot.
Okay, but if you don't have like so many links, it's okay if, you know, you've got like 1 or 2, you can like kind of sneak them in here and there.
You can sneak them in if you want to, if you have a low amount. The other thing you can do is that your press page, no one has to see it but you. It just needs to be there. So if you have Squarespace, you can put it under not listed, and like no one needs to know it's there. I have mine linked because I have a lot. But yeah, no one else has to see it. It's literally just an SEO tool. And then when you have more and more and more and more and more, you can put it as a little link at the bottom of your thing. And then even like people will be like, oh, can you send us a podcast you were on? I'm like, here's my press page. Just like find of the 300 things on there, like just pick one and listen to it. So, yep.
Do you sell mostly like consulting, or do you sell like pre-done courses?
So I sell mostly consulting. I have 2 bigger end courses that I do teach, but they're all incorporated with coaching. I don't have any just courses yet because I believe in the power of having an expert on your side. And you don't know what you don't know, and it's just really helpful to have someone by your side. So it's me and my assistant coach, and we run all the programs.
If I wanted to sell mostly pre-done video courses, would this tactic of getting over to the Google Maps or getting over to Google Maps, having those business, how would I integrate that? Is that doable?
Right. So the question is, if you just want to do video courses, how do you integrate the Google Maps thing? I would say still create a listing, period. Because what happens is that closed circuit link that I talked about, if Google has prioritized its own domain at 100, right? Let's talk about how great that is. Their domain is super, super, super strong. And if you've verified a business with them and that business listing is pointing to your website and your website is pointing back to it, it's going to slowly start helping your domain authority increase over time.
We have a couple of online questions.
Yes.
Would using your PO box address on your Google listing be helpful or hurtful?
I don't think Google allows PO box things. So if you get mail at your house, have it sent to your house, but then you can, again, just like hide the address and it doesn't show up at all on Google.
Okay. So the question is, this one person has a business located in California, but if their objective is trying to be global, do the keywords change?
So what I would say is no, in that, like, so the example I used earlier was like San Antonio real estate, right? If you're not a location dependent business, do not use location dependent words in your keyword searches, right? So like mine doesn't say, I've had this business, my entrepreneur coaching business. I've lived in LA, Minneapolis, New York, and now here since I started. And so I have the title of my site, and in my keywords, I don't have Entrepreneur Coach Los Angeles.
Excellent,
It's
thank you. And just one
Entrepreneur
more
Coach.
question. What if there is one piece of news that's published on many news places? Do you link to all of the similar articles or just the most reputable one?
So I would say if it's something like you put out a press release and someone republished the same press release word for word for word for word for word on a bunch of different ones, I would just choose the most reputable one. And then in parentheses, I might do something like this same article was also featured on, and like just list them underneath. But I would choose the website that has the highest domain authority and do that one. All right, let's get into this because the page optimization gets a little more intense. All right, so we've got our keywords, we've optimized our site. Now, what I'm about to show you, you literally have to repeat for every single page on your site. So you saw my list of all my pages and all my blogs, and like everything has to be done individually. So the first thing you want to know about page optimization is that whatever key phrases you use have to be in the body, in the copy of your text on your website at a 1 to 2% density. So that means if your website copy has 100 words in it, somewhere in that 100 words needs to be your key phrase 1 to 2 times. If it has 200 words, it needs to be in there 2 to 4 times, right? You also want to be putting your keywords in the alt text on every single image that you have on your site. So every time you upload an image, you can go in the back end, add in the alt text about what it's about. Surprise, surprise, every single image on my website for the page that I rank for Entrepreneur Coach, the alt text for every image is Entrepreneur Coach. Sometimes I'll add in little things here like Entrepreneur Coach Success or Entrepreneur Coach Client or something like that, but you want to make sure those keywords are being used on your alt text. You want an inbound link. So this means that within every single page of your website, you want a link on that page directing to another page on your website. So on my Entrepreneur Coach website page, I think I link to, I don't know if it's like one of my blogs or actually that's a lie. On my Entrepreneur Coach page, it links to my 3 different service offerings, which are all, again, within my own website, okay? So you want an inbound link. You also want an outbound link. So you want a link that goes to someone else's website. Now, this doesn't want to be, you don't want to just randomly pick a URL. This could be a place where, like we talked about earlier, you do a press link, like, oh, hey, I was featured on this place talking about this thing, click here. Pro tip about outbound links, always make sure that you mark it to open in a new window. Because what happens if someone's on your page, a new website pops up, they get enthralled in that website, you've lost them, they're gone. Whereas if it pops up in a new window, they're in the new window doing the things on the other website, they close that and are back to your website. So always make sure any outbound links pop up in a new window. The URL slug. So this is, so for example, the one that I rank for, number 1 on Google, breesealy.com/entrepreneur-coach. So whatever your key phrase is, it needs to be amy.com/food-photography, right? Whatever that is, it needs to be in the slug of your URL. And also the page title. So my page title is, for the one that I rank for, is like Entrepreneur Coach, Bree Seeley. And then also the description for that page. It's the title, the description, the keywords on the images, the density, outbound link, inbound link, and URL slug. Does anyone have any questions about what any of these things are?
Well, okay, so not questions about what they are specifically, but someone wanted to know if inbound links are separate from the navigation menu, and someone also wanted to know if posts also need inbound and outbound links or just pages.
Both. So posts on WordPress are blogs. So posts, blogs, pages, and the navigation menu does not count. All right, so technology switch. We're going to try and make this happen. I am going to now walk you through a complete start to finish page optimization in WordPress and just show you how easy it is and how quickly you can get it done on your sites as well. So as indicated, the first step to any page optimization is to identify your keywords. So the keywords I'm going to be working with today are 2021 business trends. We're just going to optimize a fake page on my website based on an article that I previously wrote. So as I mentioned before, you want to make sure that there's at least a decent amount of monthly searches. I would love to see the search number a little bit higher, but for the purposes of this, it's fine. And the competition, as I mentioned before, low. You don't want to have a lot of competition for the keywords that you're ranking for, especially if your page is new and your domain authority is low. So here I am, it's Google Ads, looking up the business trends. The other cool thing about this feature is that you can see related keywords as well. But I'm gonna stick with the 2021 business trends. So of course, we hop over into WordPress. We add a new page. And as indicated in the training I just walked you through, we wanna make sure that our keywords are in the title, which will then also develop up the URL down here, the slug. Before we go too much further with actually building the page, I want to show you what the Yoast plugin can do on WordPress. So see how right here it says not available. Once we scroll down to the bottom, we want to let Yoast know what our focus keywords are. So 2021 business trends. So once we put in the keywords, Yoast is going to tell us your SEO on this, not so great. So once you've done that, you want to then edit your SEO title. Your slug has already been updated, and then you want to write your description as well. So the title as it is right now for me already has the keywords in it. So we're going to leave that there. And as you can see, mine also has my other big generic site keywords in there as well, so that I can keep ranking for those too. So we want to write a description, and then again, the coolest thing about Yoast is it's going to tell you how long it is and what the ideal length. Okay, I was able to get the keywords into the description here twice. You can see up here they're also bolded. So again, Yoast is the only one that I know that does this. It will tell you exactly what is working in your SEO and what you need to fix in your SEO. So my text length is quite short. I need to add some images to the page. I need to put my key phrase in my introduction, in my subheading, and then I also need to include an outbound link and an internal link. So what we're gonna do up here is we're gonna go in and add in the content. So we're going to add in a text box. And then what I'm going to do here is paste in the article information there. We're going to format it a little bit. We want this to be a big header because our keywords are in here. It's going to signal to Yoast that the keywords are in the header. We also want to get the keywords in the first paragraph as well, if we can, and will not be part of the 2021 business trends moving forward. All right, and then I want to make sure I did have some external links in here. We want to remove this one, and we actually want to link the words. And always open any external links that you have. You want to open them in a new page. So I can delete this. For the purposes of this, I'm also going to delete the other external links. I know there's another one down here as well. If this were your article, you can absolutely leave those in, but for the purposes of this, we just want one external link. We have added the keyword into the title. We have added it into the top paragraph. And then the other thing we want to do, this page does not have an internal link. So we're going to add in and go like that. All right, so now we want to go back down on Yoast and check out. So making just those simple small changes, the SEO went from red to green. So you can now see down here that the key phrase is not in the subheading. There aren't any subheadings in the article. I could add one if I wanted to. And then the image alt attributes. So let's do that quickly. Let's add in a photo here. Like this, we're just going to add in any old image. So what you want to do here is in the alt text, you want to have a title and then you want to have alt text, and your alt text you need it to be the keywords. So you want to upload this image as well. Click go, and again run down here to look and see. Everything except one thing is green, which is great. It shows you this green smiley face here. That lets you know that your page is optimized for SEO. So again, running through, you have the title, you have the description, you have the slug. The keyword density, the keywords was found 8 times within the article. It was not a previously used key phrase. We have image alt attributes. The text length is good. The SEO title length is good. The key phrase length is good. It's in the introduction. There's an outbound link. There's an inbound link. So this page is ready to go. I'm not going to publish it because it is just a test page, but you could publish this page and it would start ranking on Google in the top 2021 business trends. So now it's your turn to go out and do this on your website as well. Okay, so a few things to mention there. One of the reasons I love WordPress is because none of the other platforms have that thing at the bottom that shows you exactly how your SEO is working and what's not working on your SEO. Squarespace won't tell you that. You have to go in and do it all manually. Yoast is an incredible tool. So if you have WordPress, download Yoast. It is a plugin. It is fantastic. It will literally change and concurrently save your life. As I mentioned earlier, WordPress is the best, Squarespace is next, Wix is below that. So obviously, going through and SEOing every single page on your website, just like demonstrated, page and post / blog. Okay, questions? Yes.
Say you're using a specific plugin to create like animated slide and different things like that on your site. How does the text and the copy inside of that, that gets read too as well?
That I am unsure of,
okay.
But as long as the page is optimized, you should be fine.
Okay, and what about other search engines such as Bing and DuckDuckGo? They just pull straight from
Yes, so there is a way, and I will mention, we'll get into the offsite stuff later, but there is a way to search index on Bing that will let it know to actually like pick up the data on your website. Do you have a question?
You've ever heard of I've been using a plugin called All-in-One SEO. It looks really similar to what you have. I don't know if you have anything with that one.
Question is about all-in-one SEO. What platform is it on?
WordPress.
WordPress. I have not used it. I've been told Yoast is the best, and all the research I've done, Yoast is the best. But you could Google all-in-one versus Yoast, and I'm sure someone else out there knows some answer to it. Oh, anyone else questions? No? Wow. This is the dry part. It's not very fun. I mean, it is actually, so what happened with my website is 2 years ago, I was on Squarespace, and a friend of mine called me and said, did you know you're ranking on Google for Entrepreneur Coach? And I was like, no. He's like, are you an entrepreneur coach? And I was like, I mean, I coach entrepreneurs, but like, not really. And he was like, well, maybe you should be. And so he and I went through and redid we moved my website over to WordPress. I went through and literally that example I just gave you, did that on every page. It is so satisfying when you see that little smiley face turn green. And then you just start seeing all the results rolling in. Like, it's really satisfying, but it's tedious and it can be overwhelming, and it's a lot. So like I mentioned earlier, 1 page at a time. If you this week could just say, this week I am only gonna research my keywords. Next week, I am only going to do my site optimization, and then like 1 page a week. Eventually, at some point, your entire site will be done, but it doesn't have to be done tomorrow, so don't overwhelm yourself. All right, let's get to off-site optimization. So the coolest thing is you can control what's on your site. Unfortunately, you don't get to control what's off of your site, but there are some ways that you can manipulate other websites to benefit yours. So like we talked about earlier, Google Places, business.google.com. You can register as many as you'd like for any place all over the country, possibly all over the world. You just have to have someone in that location with an address that is willing to accept the postcard for you and send you a photo of it once it arrives. Yelp. I concurrently hate and love Yelp. Yelp is a terrible platform for businesses, and it is great for SEO. Yelp has a very high domain authority, and again, can link to your website. You can link back to Yelp. Voila. Developing up a Yelp page, literally even just to have it, as long as it directs to your website, it's going to be helpful for your SEO. Making sure, though, and I'll show you this in a little bit, that especially with your Google Places, which we've talked about in the Yelp, having your key phrase in your business title is going to be very helpful for you. Very helpful. Sometimes Yelp takes it away. You just have to yell at them. Also, if you develop a Yelp business profile, do not advertise with them. Pro tip. 1, they will take your money and you'll get very few results. 2, most of the people that click on your results that you end up paying for are people calling to sell you things, which then you pay for out of your pocket. And 3, the Yelp people call you incessantly and don't stop calling you even when you're very, very, very mean and angry to them. Do not advertise on Yelp.
Bree, we had a question online. How many keywords should be in your keyword bank? And would it be better to leverage, I think we kind of answered this earlier, phrases versus words. That's where you talked about being both sort of broad and narrow all at the same time.
Yeah, it's so hard because like every single business is so different. So again, going back to the like meditation example, if you are just trying to rank for meditation, you're never going to be position 1. You're just not, right? But if it's like meditation for creativity or something like that, there's gonna be less competition out there for something like that. And so you wanna get a little specific enough that you're like honing in on the actual people that need you, but not so specific that you're eliminating a whole part of your demographic. Like, for example, meditation for creative artists who right? That's too long. So like I would say like 2 to 5 words. And I believe that the words like for and the like don't count. So you can even put like, I think one of mine is business coach for entrepreneurs, but I probably could have done it like business coach entrepreneurs, right? So you can eliminate all the little like, yeah. Okay, Google Search Console and Google Index, and then also Bing Webmaster Tools. So you want to make sure that Google is notified, and whatever platform you're on, there are instructions for each and every specific platform on it. If you go to Squarespace and Google like SEO tools, or even go on Squarespace and Google and search within their help console, like Google Index, the instructions about how to submit your Squarespace website to Google Index are in there. The instructions are on Squarespace for you to submit your website to Bing Webmaster Tools. They're in there. So just make sure you do it, because what it's just gonna help Google know your website's there, help Google actually like go through your website and find out what it's about, index it, all of that good stuff. Google Analytics is an incredibly helpful tool, especially if you have no SEO on your website right now. Set it up, see where your numbers are now, and then you'll be able to compare later how they've changed and what your monthly search volume is, what your average duration is that people stay on your website, your bounce rate, et cetera, et cetera. It's just really cool to be able to like compare the data. And then you want to make sure that your website link is in every single social platform that you are on. And then you also want to be adding whatever main key phrases that you want to be ranking for, try to put it in your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your YouTube, and your Instagram bios, because those things are starting to be SEO'd. And then also as well, you asked earlier about YouTube videos. YouTube videos are huge for SEO. So you want to make sure, like if I need to go back and redo a lot of my YouTube videos, everyone should try and have your key phrase in it. And then definitely every description needs to have your key phrase in it, and every description needs to have your website URL in it as well. All these websites, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, they all have really good domain authorities. So they're going to rank pretty high when someone searches you. So you just want to make sure that your key phrases are in there as well. So here's an example of Google Places. Again, you want to use your keyword in your business name. So this is mine from LA, Bree Seeley, Business and Entrepreneur Coach. You want to have a link to your website from your profile. And then you also, on your website, want to link back. So this Google listing is directing to my website. You guys saw earlier on my website at the bottom where it said Los Angeles, goes to this listing, right? So they match, they meet, we flip the switch, the light turns on. Cool? Yelp, again, same thing. You want to use your keyword and your business name. You want to link to your website from your Yelp profile, and then also link to your Yelp profile from your website. So again, Google Search Console, Squarespace, and Yoast have this built in. It's super, super, super easy. Bing Webmaster Tools, here's the link, and then the instructions on how to verify are in the help section there, okay? So here's the difference between the Google Analytics. So this is the same period of time. This was 2019, before I SEO'd my website, and that's the same period of time, but in 2020. So I had about 1,000 more users, about 5,000 more sessions. The coolest part about this, my marketing guys just called me and they were like, how is your bounce rate so low? Like, how are you keeping people on your website? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, we have never seen a bounce rate that's 2%. They're like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So what happens is people come on my website, they don't just immediately leave, right? So it's cool. You can like compare the data and see what's changed, what's working, what's not working on your website. And then again, social sites, you want to make sure both that they all link to your website and that you have your key phrases in the bio. Okay.
Question online, can you use SEO for Amazon digital products?
That, I do not know, but I do know that Amazon has, so like I'm an Amazon author and I have an Amazon author page. I know that most Amazon stores have Amazon store pages. Go in their back end and see what you can do in terms of like naming your store and adding in your URL, stuff like that. My guess would be, can you, whoever asked that question, can you let Jessica know if that's your only website, or if you have an actual website and you just have your products on Amazon?
She said she does not have a store. So can you clarify for us, if you don't have a store on Amazon, what your question is about SEO with Amazon. So she has products on Amazon, but not a store page. She has a website on a Wix platform.
Okay. The product thing, I mean, obviously, like you want to make sure to use the keywords for whatever product it is. So for her, instead of the individual pages being SEO'd, each product page is going to need to be SEO'd. And so using the specific keywords in the name of the product. So for example, if it's like a moon candle, you don't want it to be like, I'm totally blanking, like the name of the candle, right? You don't want it to be like witchy magic something, right? You want it to say like moon candle as the title. You're also probably going to want it in the description. And then I also happen to know like ratings and stuff matter. So if there's a way for her to get her ratings up on Amazon, that's really helpful. I've had very similar questions like that about Shopify lately from a lot of people. Shopify has SEO on their website as well. And very similar things like I've taught you, you can SEO every product on your Shopify website. And then if you go into Shopify's help section and like search their help section for SEO, there are going to be tips and tricks in there for them as well. But I believe they're pretty concurrent with exactly what I've taught you guys here.
Question about how the Google search looks if you're hiding the address for a particular city you say that you're in. Because like your LA listing had an actual address, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Apartment there or something. If you don't mind having.
That was an office listing because
In any case, can you show us what it looks like if you don't actually have an address showing up?
So the question was, how does your Google search listing look if you do not have an address? So this is how it looks. And then also if you click on it, this is how it looks. So there's just no address, it just shows the general vicinity.
Is that ever created problems for you in actually talking to people who call me like, hey, I thought you were in Minneapolis, but clearly you're not because of that?
I haven't had any problems with it. I'm also pretty just unapologetic that my business is just virtual. When it's not COVID times, like I'm traveling once a month and I just like, even with people in the same city, we don't have in-person meetings. Everything's done virtually and I'm just very unapologetic about that. So even when I was in New York, I was like, I don't do, you want me in person, I'm like double the price that I am virtually. So it's just how it works.
On your SEO spreadsheet there, you mentioned that you do not have your homepage.
Part of the reason I haven't done my homepage is because on your homepage, like you can't, I don't have a slug in my homepage. So it's just a little harder to do without some of those things. Most people that find my homepage find it either through like a direct link or Googling my name or something like that. But really at the end of the day, I don't really care about people landing on my homepage because I just want them to hire me. So them being directed, like the one that I get the most views on is my services page. So yeah, but you can, like you could make your homepage a page. I could make my services page my homepage. It's just a simple click of a button. I just haven't because I have my just generic website like everywhere. I could set up a redirect. There's options there. I just haven't.
Question online. One person works for a sculptor and he has many impersonators on social media and we deal with many of his sculptures being resold on the secondary market. Can we leverage this in our SEO? Meaning, is it helpful to have this activity even though it doesn't link to the sculptor directly?
First off, I'm sorry, and that sucks. I finally had to get Instagram verified because every week I was having a friend send me like, hey, someone's impersonating you again. Hey, here's another one, another one, another one, another one, another one, another one. Like there's nothing you can do right now. It just sucks. So like the more that they can do to like verify that they're like, if there's any way to get a Wikipedia page, depending on the amount of press they have, and I recommend all that. Also having a Wikipedia page. Wikipedia also has a domain authority of 100. Having that direct to your website, also a big plus. Really hard to get a Wikipedia page unless you have the right press. So put it on your long list if you're not there yet. I mean, in terms of visibility, great. I don't think there's any pro to it. Especially like one of the people impersonating me said something like, pardon my French, really shitty in one of the comments. Was like, it's like if you're born poor, it's not your fault, but if you die poor, it is. And I was like, what if someone screen caps that? And it's like Bree Seeley saying this stuff on the internet, right? Like, so I try and shut down impersonators as much as possible, just because I don't think it's beneficial to your brand. But any other questions? Are we good? Okay. All right, so what's next? So I mentioned at the beginning of the training, which seems like 5 years ago already, that this is not a one and done thing, that there has to be a long form strategy with this as well. Google doesn't want your website to be static. There needs to be continuous recurring new content on it, / you updating things. So the best way to do this is through these, I think this is the last one. So consistent long form new content, monitoring broken links. So if a website is linking to you and they stop linking to you, then you've eliminated that closed circuit thing. You can delete them off of your links on your thing, continued link building, and then moz.com, which I'll get into. All right, so consistent long form new content. So again, you want to be posting consistent long form new content. Google says about 1 to 3 times a week. 3 is a lot. It's a lot. Keeping up once a week is a lot. So if you need to do twice a month, if you whatever, just like make sure you're doing something. Start at once a month. I don't care, but you have to have some sort of strategy for this. Things that you can do: a blog, a podcast. If you are doing a podcast, Google cannot identify keywords via audio at this time, only written. So if you are doing a podcast, what I do is I embed my podcast player link into every single episode, gets its own blog, and every single blog has the podcast player link embedded and 3 paragraphs worth of text that have my keywords in it. So the length, you want it to be about 800 to 1,500 words. And again, density 1 to 2% of your key phrase within that page. And remembering that every single new post you make has to have different keywords. Yes?
Sorry, I'm asking out of turn, but
It's okay.
is 800 a hard minimum? What if I wanted to do like 300 to 800?
Okay, so the question is 800 a hard minimum? It's not a hard minimum. It's going to be better. The longer you can do, the better it's going to be in Google's eyes. If you can, I would say even like 500 is going to be better than 300. But it's recommended. Actually, it's technically recommended at 1,500. That is a long post. So 800 to 1,500 is acceptable. Okay, shoot. Oh, darn it. I hit the back button. I'm sorry. Okay.
Is it a fair assumption that the more specialized your business is, maybe the less frequently you have to do this in terms of like there are specialized things?
Very possibly. The other thing you can do that I don't actually have in this is you can update old blogs. So if you have a blog from a year ago where, say, like some new research has come out, or you'll see this a lot, people will do like top 2020 blah, blah, blahs. And then instead of making a new top 2021 blah, blah, blahs post, they just change the last one to the current year. And so a lot of people will do that, where they just update old content instead of starting from scratch all the time. And I know your business is new, so obviously that's not applicable for right now, but it could be.
I've got a 12-year-old business and then a brand new thing, so it's like totally different.
Got it. So yeah, so you could, for the 12-year-old business, you could definitely go back in and just update a bunch of things. And then for the new one, obviously, that could be a strategy used down the line. But question? Okay, so the question is, how long is a good time to check back and re-strategize? Also, I'm really sorry for all the Zoom people that I have not been repeating the questions. I'm so sorry. Please accept my apologies. So the question is, how long do you wait to revisit? I think that's really going to depend on what your domain authority is, because if your domain authority is, say, like 1 or 2, and you don't have an already established audience where within like the first month there's going to be a lot of traffic, it doesn't make sense to check on the amount of traffic if you have a low domain authority and you don't have an already established audience.
What if it's at like
20 what?
Like 21? What if your DA is at 21?
Oh, that's decent. It's not super great. So I would say 6 to 12 months for you. For everyone on Zoom, she said her domain authority is 21. So that's like 21 out of 100. So for that, 6 to 12 months. If you had a higher domain authority of like, say 75, and you had an already established audience of like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands or 1 million, you could probably update it a little more frequently. But yeah, any other questions? No? Okay. Monitoring broken links, and just in general, this website, moz.com, fantastic resource. I'll show you guys in a little bit, but you can register a free account on moz.com. It will tell you when someone has unlinked to your website. So you can monitor any of those broken links and take them off of your press or mentions page. And then the other thing you want to do too is monitor broken links on your website. So if you previously had a breesealy.com/free, and then I took that website down, but people were still trying to link to it, and it goes to a custom 404 page, that's bad. You don't want people to try to go to a website address on your website that doesn't exist. So you just want to make sure that any broken links, and you can it's actually good for your SEO to create a custom 404 page. So if someone types in breesealy.com/free, which I don't think exists anymore, it would go to a 404, this page is not available. You can make a custom page and say, I would have it be a picture of me being like, oh no, you've come to a page that no longer exists. If you're looking for information about how to hire me, go here. If you're looking for blogs about being a better entrepreneur, go here, right? So you can still keep them engaged with your website. I saw a really good opt-out page the other day where when you opt out, it was a custom page that had like a big $1 million bill on it or something, and it was like, you should stay. So there's like fun ways that you can play with if people get to like dead ends on your website to like keep them engaged. Question?
There's a lot of good Google Chrome extensions for broken links too that like they highlight them in like red so you can like replace good links.
Do you know what any of them are called? Okay. So the comment was that there's a bunch of Google Chrome extensions that will give you a list of broken links on your website. And then, yeah, removing any inactive press mentions links. All right, continue building links. So how have I gotten to be on all of these places? Well, press, especially if you're just getting started, even if you're established, are not coming to you. You have to go to them. So guesting on podcasts, there are a lot of really, really, really great resources out there. Podmatch.com is one of them. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones where you can go on and podcasters will post their podcast on there when they're looking for guests, and then you just submit yourself and you just pitch yourself to be a guest on their podcast. That's a really, really, really good and easy way to link build, and it helps a lot. You can write contributor articles for other places. I think my domain authority really started taking off when I started writing for the Huffington Post. I also write for Influensive, I write for Forbes, I write for the Cartomancer, I write for StartupNation.com, all these other ones. So all these bigger websites have my name on it and then are linking to me talking about things like entrepreneurship and coaching. And again, contributor articles don't come to you. You have to pitch them. These strategies, the link building strategies, are proactive. Don't sit around waiting for people to contact you. It's never going to happen. Put yourself out there, pitch yourself. If they say no, go pitch someone else. HARO is a really, really, really great resource. It stands for Help a Reporter Out. Reporters are lazy. No offense to our reporter friends. I love all of my reporter friends. When they have an article that they're writing, they will go on Harrow and they will make a listing and it will say, we're looking for blah, 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 blah. If you have something to contribute, email us with this, 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 and this. I just did one for Parade magazine last night that was like, what are your top 5 tips for switching from a negative mindset to a positive mindset? So you email them back with the top 5 tips, usually your website, your title, your name, and then if they choose you for the article, typically they do not contact you to tell you they have chosen you. So pro tip, set up a Google alert for your name and your business name. And if you have a name like mine that gets spelled wrong all the time, also set up a Google alert for your name being spelled wrong. I was on Inc. magazine. They spelled my name wrong, refused to change it. So you will get notified anytime anyone on the internet mentions you or your business name or whatever. And then once you have those placements, you put them on your press/mentions page. And then, like I said, pitching. Make sure you are pitching yourself. Podcasts, blogs, Harrows, contributor articles, etc. Question?
Number 1, I apologize for spelling your name wrong.
No, that was not directed at you at all.
I know, but I did need to publicly apologize for that. Someone asked if the contributor articles were paid writing opportunities.
Some of them are, some of them aren't. They can be, a lot of them are not, especially for the big outlets. You just don't get paid. It's like clout and backlinking, essentially. I just include it as part of my marketing strategy. Any other questions? Yes.
Sorry, I just got it, so I'm trying to read it at the same time. We are considering contacting past press articles that have been written about the sculptor. He's been creating for over 46 years. Should I be contacting the most recent or how recent? Lena, will you clarify contacting them to do what, for what purpose? To act, okay, so she's considering articles that were written a while ago to ask them to update this with a link back to the website, because I guess at the time that didn't happen. Number 1, is that a good idea? How far back should she go?
You know, one of my mantras is if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So why not? You have nothing to lose. They might say no, and then again, you just move on to the next one. And then, sorry, what was the second part of it?
How far back should she go in doing that? Just
timeline doesn't matter, honestly. In fact, the longer a page is up, the more strength it usually gains, and the more authority it gains. And so I would research the domain authorities of the sites before you reach out to them and maybe prioritize them by domain authority rather than date, and that will help. And so going back to, wait, hold on. Okay, so going back to Moz.com, there's actually a really cool tool that you can install on your browser for Moz.com that will tell you, so do you see this little blue thing up here where my mouse is, where it says 98? Google Sheets has a domain authority of 98. SEO or SEMrush has a domain authority of 87. Ubersuggest has a domain authority of 86. Moz has a domain authority of 91. So you can install this cool Chrome extension that will tell you exactly what everyone else's domain authority is. You can go look at all your competitors and see what their domain authority is. And then I will walk you through quick and look at Moz.com as well. Like I said, you can get a free Moz account. You do not need to pay for it. So this is my website. So it tells you exactly what your domain authority is, how many, like I've had 11 new linking domains in the last 60 days. I have 5.5 thousand inbound links, and I rank for 171 keywords. So this will tell you exactly how many, I've had 11 new discovered link domains, and I've lost 7 in the last 60 days. And you can go through and click on which ones have been discovered. This could help you find, oh, just kidding, that didn't do what I wanted it to. So Lindsay A linked to me, Singular City linked to me, Manic Design, I don't even know who any of these people are. Now Marketing Group, I do know. I know the Phoenix Fashion Week one came through. Lendio was an article that I contributed to. So these are the discovered ones, and then you can click on Lost and see which ones removed their link to your website as well. And then, oh, that's it. You can also click on to see, I thought I clicked off of you. What are you doing? You can see your top pages on your site. The websites that link to you by domain authority. And then I believe, no, you cannot click on those. So then you can also click on, this is where I said I rank for 171 keywords. You, unfortunately, with the free version, don't get to see all of them, but here's all of my number 1 and 2 position rankings, and 3 and 4, and then once you go to the next page, you can't see them unless you pay. But you can go in and see when you start ranking for things as well. Moz is a very incredible resource. It's one of my favorites. I love it. Okay, so the to-do with this is obviously maintaining and growing your SEO. You can be doing this stuff concurrently with doing all of your individual page optimization things as well. The maintaining and growing your SEO is also really great stuff to outsource. You can give a virtual assistant or a content writer a list of key phrases and say, you know, I need a blog written on each one of these that's 800 to 1,500 words. You know, blah, 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 blah. You can get people to pitch you for press placements. You could get a VA to pitch you for podcast stuff. I mean, all this plan stuff is really, really good outsourcing stuff if you have a team or if you have people on your team. If you don't, Upwork.com is a really great resource to get people in for relatively cheap that can help you out with all these things. And that is, how are we all feeling overwhelmed? Yeah.
Did you say Upwork.com?
Yes. Upwork.com. The thing I like about Upwork is that you literally get to see experience, like real experiences that people have had with that contractor. Not that people do this, maybe people do. Anyone can put a testimonial on their website, right? But like, if it's an actual platform where the user is giving the testimonial on the site to the contractor, and I just really like it. Did you have a?
Oh yeah. So you don't like recommend or trust Fiverr?
I've never really used Fiverr, but I think it's a similar platform to Upwork. I've always used Upwork over Fiverr. Yes. Oh. Sorry, I forgot to put a questions one in this. Yes.
Can you pull up your Excel sheet again and talk about, I mean, you got like 170, what we say, posts. You're picking these keywords with these tools that sort of look up keywords. But, you know, is it really just kind of shooting from the hip, kind of picking keywords that you think look good and then going, oh, I can make an article out of that? What's your strategy to go through and, you know, because, I mean, you could just indefinitely be using keywords and stuff. What's your strategy to really focus in on the one that matters?
So the page optimization ones of like my actual pages on my website, I think are way more important than my posts. And so I like these ones that I searched. I did like a lot of research on picking which ones were going to be best for my website. Now on the blogs, it's a little different. When I go in to do, say, a blog, or a lot of my blogs, I did YouTube videos and then would embed the YouTube video that had the keyword in it with the 800-word article underneath of it that had the keyword in it. And so so those I would typically identify based on, like, I get a lot of questions. I have people, well, one, like, I'm answering questions all day long. I have clients that come to me with similar problems. And so I just spot trends of like, what are people coming to me for? What do people want from me? And so I will use that a lot of times as a catalyst for the blogs that I write, knowing that if 3 of my clients have come to me with the same question this week, it's very likely other people are. And then I use that kind of general idea of what that question is to then go into the keywords manager and find the most aligned keywords to go along with that question. That's the lazy man's way of doing it, because you just let it come to you.
Mostly in customer feedback, and then you try to score it in the right things based on like Google Analytics suggestions.
Yeah, yeah.
Mary list
Yeah, so if someone came to me and asked like a specific question, I would then go into keywords and be like, put the generic terms of it. Like say someone asked me a question about YouTube best tips or something like that. I would go into AdWords and search like YouTube best tips. And then as you guys saw, when I was in AdWords, there's a whole list of other ones underneath it. And you can rank them based on the amount of searches they get per month, or like list them. You can also list them based on like the amount of competition they have. And then you just start weighing like, okay, is it better to have low competition and low search volume, or is it better to have high search volume and a medium competition? You just have to like figure out, and then you pick which key phrases are going to be best aligned for that. Anyone else? Yes.
Like clarification on the keywords. So the ones that you want in your social media need to align with your site optimization key phrases.
Yes.
And these are specific to pages, posts, and that's where all of the copy and the
Yep.
ones to present.
Yep. So the question was?
Clarification. Keywords, which ones go into social media and which ones site optimization versus page optimization.
Yes. So her question was, which keywords do you use for your social media bio and title? Do you use so my answer was you use the ones that you've optimized your site on. So like when you go to my Instagram, it says Bree Seeley Entrepreneur Coach.
Which is what it is on your
on my, yep, that's my title. Yep. Yep. Yes.
How do you vet a firm, if you're a firm or an individual, to do this for you? If you're learning the language and you've got something that's built that you need to ramp up and overhaul, how do you identify and prove that they've done it successfully for other clients? What kind of questions or what do you ask for to find someone to do this for you?
Okay, so the question was, how do you vet someone to do this for you? So you specifically said PR.
Well, like they've done research on my keywords, and then I have someone else do the website, and there's disconnect. I got to get all back on track.
Okay.
My background's finance, so you're talking about the level of my, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. So how do you vet someone that does these kinds of things? One, again, I really like Upwork because there are actual, like I hired someone on Upwork and I went on Upwork and gave that person direct feedback about the project we did. So if they've done this enough, there's gonna be data around good/bad experiences that other people have had in hiring that professional. The other thing I do is I go to my network. I also happen to just be like very tapped into this kind of stuff, and I just like know people that do everything within entrepreneurship. So there's that, and I would say for you probably Upwork is going to be your best resource. Yeah. Anyone else?
Nothing online at the moment.
Okay.
Would you stop your screen share so I can put up something for our feedback?
Yes, before I do that, I wanted to say quickly, so this is me. I am on all the socials at my name. I'm the only Bree Seeley, even if you spell it wrong, that pops up pretty much everywhere. Instagram and Clubhouse are probably my top two, so if you're either or both of those places, come hang out with me there. My website, and then this is my email as well. I currently have enrollments happening for a accelerator program that is a year-long mastermind if anyone is interested in talking more about that. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, this is one piece of the puzzle. It's just one. So SEO, publicity, marketing strat. I mean, there's like so many elements for a holistic business strategy that this is just one element of it. I walk people through all of the things over the course of a year. So if anyone's interested, shoot me an email and we can chat some more. And I will stop screen sharing so that, can I find, where's the button? Oh, there we go.
One question in terms of, will you share your slides with me so I can share them with participants? Are you cool with that?
Yes, I will slide share.
Okay. And then we did have a question that came up. There's the site, they have a website that's being converted to different languages. Should we use different keywords or can we leverage the translations?
That is a great question that I don't know an answer to. I'm sorry. My guess would be that Google optimize, like there's Google keywords in all sorts of other languages as well. So I would say just make sure that you're doing the same AdWord research in every other language, even if it's for, if you have Entrepreneur Coach, whatever that's translated to in whatever language, you still need to do all the same keyword research from the bottom, like as if you're starting from scratch, to make sure that all of those key phrases in other languages are still relevant and ranking.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So I have screen shared up here for folks in the room, a bit.ly to our feedback form. And I've also dropped a link in the chat for the folks online. This is something we do for every session. I have added a specific question around the hybrid nature of today's session. So more than any other time, I always want you to do this, but please, please, please 100 times today for this session, because we want to know, both for those of you in the room and for the folks who are online, how this worked from a virtual perspective, what went well, what we could do better, because we do anticipate continuing in this hybrid mode for the foreseeable future. Honestly, if not sort of forever, just because of the accessibility. We have folks here today, probably from Breeze Network, from California and Florida. So that's just a really cool thing for us to be able to reach more folks. But we would really love your feedback. There will also be a link to the form in the follow-up email that you get, which will include the recording and a copy of Breeze slides. So any other questions, comments, concerns in the room, online?
And if anyone thinks of any questions, you get home later and you're just like mind blown or boggled and you just like couldn't even think of it in the room here, you're always welcome to DM me on Instagram. I will warn you, I am way more responsive to DMs on Instagram than I am emails. So if you email me, you're probably not gonna get a response. I'm really bad at email. And if you DM me on Instagram, you will 100% get a response because I can voicemail you back. So DM me. I check even my other folder on Instagram regularly, so send me a message. Happy to help.